Before the arenas, before the awards.
This is b4Nashville Live. Have a question for our guest?
Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
And welcome back to Before Nashville, where we introduce the country stars of tomorrow to the country fans of today. Now, this young lady I'm talking to tonight, her credentials are pretty impressive. 5 charted singles, okay? She has her own podcast, which we're going to talk about because I always love talking to other podcast folks, and a lot more. We'll talk about some of the people that have inspired her and everything. So welcome to the show, if you would, Tiffany Woys. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm cold, but I'm good.
Yeah, it's not as cold here. I just escaped. I'm in California now, and I heard Nashville is going to be like 4 degrees or something like that. And I was like, oh, dang it, because I know that your pipes can freeze and stuff. So luckily we had our neighbor went over to our house and left a sink, on the, dripping. So, because I was like, oh no.
I was just telling my wife a while ago because I was looking at the temperature, and then I got all kinds of information from people today. But our daughter had just asked us the other night, Mom, Dad, should I leave the pipes dripping? And we go, well, you live on a single, it's a single story. All the pipes should be under the slab. You should be okay. But then I was reading today, from the city, be sure to leave a little drip on your, on your water. And we have a basement, which is where my studio is. And we have an electric fireplace upstairs that we use to heat. And so I told my wife, I said, you're going to have to leave that off so the heat will get downstairs, because that's where all of our piping is. And it's like, maybe we need to go ahead and leave one dripping. But it's like 5 here right now.
Well, growing up in California, that's something we clearly have never had to do. So I was like, wait, what? And it was my Uber driver actually on the way to the airport who was like, oh, and started saying, and I go, oh no. And I was like, I guess I should probably call somebody. I didn't even think that's something that you have to do. Turns out it is.
Right. It's snowing here. The roads are freezing. People are off the road. It's a grand old time to be in the Midwest. So you're lucky you're in California right now. So tell me, let's just kick this off. I know one of your major influences, and we'll talk about her coming up here in a bit, but who were those that influenced you as a youngster to get you into music?
Right off the bat are 2 that always confuse people, and that's okay. I guess I'm just a little different, was Michael Jackson and Celine Dion. And neither of them, obviously, I sound like or anything like that. It was just that I was really impressed by both of their work ethics and how passionate they were about their dreams. And that was something that really encouraged me. And not to mention, Celine Dion is just she always makes me want to be a better vocalist. Like, she's just jaw-dropping. But when it came to country music, it was pretty much LeAnn Rimes. That was my biggest country music influence. And then from there, it was about like Martina McBride, Faith Hill, Jody Messina. Those were kind of the ones that I fell in love with because that's what my mom listened to. So that was something that I just ended up, and they're all such amazing vocalists in their own right. And what makes all of them so special is that if you close their eyes and you hear one of their songs, it's them. And that's how you really, you're one of a kind, because they don't try and sound like anybody else. They are just who they are.
Right. Absolutely. And that always makes it great. And then, as time progresses, more people come out, you start to kind of pick up on other artists and you kind of like them and emulate, not necessarily emulate, but you enjoy their style, I guess is a better way to put it. And so I know that Carrie is one of your, Carrie Underwood.
Oh, yeah. I didn't say her because I feel like she's everybody's, right? Like, because I consider her the Celine Dion of country music. That's what I've always called her. I kind of think that she's just that person that just blows you away vocally. And who I think, not rightfully so, is not talked about enough, who is more like, younger, is Lauren Elena. As I think she can sing pretty much almost, I feel like, anybody under the table. And she's just not given the credit that I think she deserves.
Yeah, and she's not been given the credit pretty much anywhere. But Lauren is an amazing vocalist. She's got a great range, and and everything. And I'm just like, why is she not out there
It's
more?
just, I know. I mean, like, yes, everyone, I think a lot of people know who she is, but I just like, I'm such a fangirl of hers. And I keep like, anyone who hasn't heard her, I go, you need to listen to her. Like, I know she hasn't gotten her, I guess, huge moment that I think she deserves, but like, if you listen to that girl sing, it's
Right.
nothing has to be filtered, nothing has to be edited. She's just that good.
Right. And if you haven't heard her, then you need to get out from under your rock a little earlier.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you were kind of getting into the music and stuff, you said your mom used to listen to, the Faith Hill, a lot of the ladies from the 90s
Hmm.
that you
Yes.
mentioned. And so those kind of were influences early on. How old were you when you started singing, or
Mm.
you or your mom, or realized she might have something here?
Really early, around 4. 4
Oh,
years
wow.
old is when I, oddly enough, was starting to sing the national anthem. That was my big thing, and it was because of LeAnn Rimes. So I had a little cassette player, and LeAnn Rimes's, I think, first CD. Correct? No, it could be her second, because I know Blue came out before How Do I Live, but
Hmm.
it was the cassette that had How Do I Live on it, and that also had the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, and I want to say God Bless America. I mean, we had two patriotic songs on the cassette, and I remember it was on the second side of the cassette. And I, for some reason, without even really knowing really at that point what the Star Spangled Banner even was, I would listen to it over and over again, and I would just try and copy it pretty much. And I remember my mom said that she heard me singing it to like my Walkman upstairs in my bedroom, and she thought that it was like the TV or something. And then she came up into my room and she realized it was me, and that I just kept singing the national anthem, and it was the LeAnn Rimes version that was on my cassette.
Wow. And
Yeah, and
see,
then, oh, I'm sorry. Keep going.
no,
Oh no, I'm frozen. You're
oops,
frozen.
there we go.
There we go.
That's not a good sign, folks. That means the lines are starting to get iced up, probably back here. So we might have an interruption a time or two tonight, just to let you know. Um, Now, you you write? Do you write
I
as
actually,
well?
I'm starting to now. So my next project that's going to be coming out in the new year is
Mhm.
going to be pretty much all songs that I've written, which is
Okay.
totally pretty much new for me. I mean, I have written, but it's nothing stuff that I've actually released. I came to town, and this was always intentional too. I knew I was pretty steadfast on what I wanted to do in Nashville, and it was to be a vehicle for really good songs. It was something that I've been very I mean, as we all, before we get into a business like this, we start out as a listener, we start out as a fan, and I am such a fan of finding good songs. And to me, I don't really like to put my ego in the way of things. The best song wins, and that's just how I've
Right.
always felt, and I'm really passionate about that. And that's even why when we get to the podcast, that is kind of the premise behind a lot of it, is that the songwriters, that's what they do. That's their thing. And for me, growing up as a little girl, I wanted to be a vocalist. I wanted to hold a microphone and be an entertainer. And that's what really was my passion. And I have never tried to be apologetic about it. I think that you everyone has a place in this business, and just because I don't write something doesn't make it any more meaningful or to me. And I make sure I take that job really seriously, because it's words that I haven't written. I'm usually very, 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 very probably overly picky, that my team might say, about what I record, because I have to
Mhm.
have an emotional attachment to the song as if it were my story, because it's
Right.
my job to make someone feel something. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to bring songs to life, whether it's things that we've written or things that somebody else have written. But it's the songwriting community that I want to pay tribute to, because I know that's a kind of, it's becoming a thing of the past, is that a lot of people, songwriters aren't writing songs now unless the artist is in the room. And that's
Right.
really hard for songwriters to just do what they love because they're kind of handcuffed into this idea of they're not going to get a cut if, the person is there. And I think songwriters just need to do what they do, and that's storytell.
Right. That's a very good point too. And I mean, with that being said, and your take on that, when you're picking out a song, say somebody brings you 4 songs that they want
Mhm.
you to cut, and you're listening to the demos and you're picking through them and you're listening and you're listening. Is it just you that picks out what songs, or do you
Mhm.
have 1 or 2 other people that join you?
No, I mean, I have people that have an opinion, but but my team is um they're so incredible that they just know at the end of the day, the last opinion that matters is mine because I'm going to be the one having to record it and sing it. And I know if I want how my brain works, it's kind of crazy. When I listen to a song, I pretty much know within 30 seconds. And if in those 30 seconds I don't already attach I already place myself in that song to a memory that has happened to me in my real life, and I have to already envision what the cover art's going to look like. I have to envision what I think the music video would look like. And if all of that doesn't actually just naturally come to me within a minute, then I usually pass on it.
Okay. So you're kind of like the Tom Cruise of country music because you want your hand in everything.
Everything. And I always say
I don't
that
mean that
just
in a
be
bad way, okay? I
yeah,
don't mean that
yeah.
bad.
No, I love it. I love to know all the facets of each moving part. I think every artist should know every moving part in their own career because nobody's going to care about your career as much as you do. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just the reality of it. And I've always said that someone could pitch me a hit. I mean, it could be a bona fide number one, and I know it in my gut, and in my heart. But if it's not meant for me, it's not meant for me. Just as something's a good song. For instance, what is a hit for Miranda Lambert wouldn't work for Carrie Underwood to sing it. So
Right.
everyone in their artistry is different. And I've had plenty of people, especially on my team, who get frustrated with me sometimes. They'll send me a song like, this is a good one. And I hear it and I go, you're right, it is a good song, but it's not a good song for me. And so I think the more intuitive you are about that, and the more that I've had a lot of time over the last, I think, 8 or 9 years to really discover who I am as an artist and the things I want to say in my sound. And I'm really steadfast in that. And so if someone tries to bring me something to kind of like try and nudge me or sway me, I'm just not interested because I just want to be myself.
Right. It's great that you have that kind of control and that kind of, control over your career and confidence in how you control your career, because a
Hmm.
lot of artists, they hear a song and they go, oh, I can make that mine, and they don't take into consideration, well, maybe I can, maybe I can't, because maybe this song just isn't made for me, so I can't make it mine. It's a great song, but it's just not for me. And I think
Absolutely.
sometimes artists get lost and they just go, oh, that's, it's written by Jeffrey Steele. Uh, you know,
Hmm.
for those of you that
Yep.
don't know, Jeffrey Steele is one of the most prolific songwriters in Nashville. Wikipedia him. I mean, he's got a long list of songs. The late great Busby, he's another one of the most awesome songwriters in Nashville. Tragically, we lost him too soon. Or not tragically, but unfortunately, we lost him too soon.
Hmm.
And he's another one. But they could write a song for, say Kenny Chesney, but Kenny is going to pass because it doesn't fit him. But you have these young up and coming artists, and they just want to be able to say they did a Busby song or a Jeffrey Steele song, or I always forget her name. It makes me so mad. She wrote Humble and Kind that Tim McGraw did. Um,
Uh, Hillary Lindsley, is that who did wrote it? No.
no, it wasn't Hillary. It was somebody else.
Oh my
Golly,
gosh. Oh my gosh. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
mine too. And I cannot think of what it is.
Oh,
I
McKenna.
even, yes, Lori McKenna.
Lauren
I started
McKenna.
saying we even saw her get the BMI award for that one.
Yeah, she's incredible too. But that's why I take the role as being sometimes an interpreter for the
Mhm.
vehicle for a song so seriously, is that um you're right, it could be a great song, but it's not meant for me, and it would be selfish of me to take what I know is a really good song, and
Right.
when I know it could have a better home somewhere else, and it could have the outreach that it deserves, and if it stopped with me because it wasn't meant for me, then I've just kind of wasted it in a sense
Right.
where it could have had the momentum and the power behind it with somebody else where it deserved to be, because I really think the things that are meant for you will be heard by the people it needs to be heard by. But if it's
Yeah.
not in the right hands within the right home, it might never be heard. And I would hate for that to happen. So I do take it really seriously.
It's like doing a disservice to the writer and the song if you do that,
Yes. I
you know?
wholeheartedly believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the, you know, like I said, I feel like there are just artists down in Nashville that would latch onto that because of it's got a name.
Mhm.
The twofold purpose of recording a song, quite honestly, possibly threefold, depending on what the hierarchy is to this isn't the sole purpose. So don't get me wrong. The main purpose is to have people connect to it. But then the purposes after that, you want to be able to collect some kind of revenue off of it. I mean, this
Sure. At
song
the end of the day,
that's
this is a job. Yeah.
right. That's how they make their money. So if that song's not meant for you, then you're not helping them because people aren't hearing that song because it's not being played on radio. It's not being played on the streaming, and things like that. Because
Right.
most people don't know who wrote the song or they don't even know the songwriters. That's
Yeah.
so they may see it says Jeffrey Steele or it says Busby or Lori McKenna or Hillary Lindsay, and they're going, okay,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
you're totally right. And I actually have a rule of thumb, and I in a long time ago, I made this rule for myself that when I am pitched music, I won't look at who wrote it first. Because I
there you
think sometimes you get like a preconceived notion in your head of like, oh, it's a good song because so and so wrote it. And to be fair, I'm sure every single song that Jeffrey Steele writes isn't a hit, right? I mean, it's
go.
impossible. Well, and I think you get it in your brain that if you see a name with notability, you go, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I won't. Now I've gotten so, I think, integrated now with the songwriting community as a listener that
Right,
typically I can tell who wrote something without even looking by style.
right.
But and earlier on, I couldn't do that, and I still had said to myself, I'm not going to look. A good song is a good song, and to be quite frank, I know this sounds really bad, but I would almost get a little disappointed when I saw like Shane McAnally's name or Busby's name on it, because I was like, I would almost rather succeed with someone that didn't have success yet, because I
Well,
think that, for someone like Shane, it's kind of just
she
it's just
there you
another number one, like big deal, But for
yeah,
somebody who's trying to get their feet wet in the business and get off the ground, I think it'd be so much fun to have like a first song of mine that went big to be with somebody who hadn't had that yet. I think that would be more fun.
yes.
Coming from somebody who has recorded a song that was written by Shane and a song that's been written by Busby, I know that it doesn't always matter, and that's just the truth of it.
Absolutely, and I mean, I love that. I mean, I got to say, we have not talked before tonight, but that is one of the things I can say I admire about you and your take on that, simply because I feel like there are so many that don't look at it that way.
Hmm.
And with now you're moving into songwriting yourself.
Hmm.
How has singing the songs and recording songs by these other artists come into play with what you're doing yourself? Have you seen little things that they do? I'm not a songwriter, so I'm not going to try to point out things that a songwriter would write down, like a pattern or anything, but have you picked up on some of that stuff that you feel fits what you want to do with your own written songs?
There's some things that I've loved, and there's some things that I want to break the habit of. And I talk about it actually in the podcast, is I want us to throw out the formula. I want us to throw out this 3-minute and 10-second box that we've all like prisoned ourselves to, because I watch people, when I'm in these writes, I watch us pump out this material, I think almost considerably sometimes too fast. And I'm just like, how can you, don't get me wrong, I'm sure magic can be made that way, but for some reason it feels so much like a job instead of a passion. And that starts to scare me. And I don't want to lose the idea of what music is. And it's supposed to be, I think, less mechanical and more heartfelt. And when I tried to explain to people that, why are we all writing for this machine, this 3-minute and 10-second machine? Because if you actually look back through history, and the number ones and the ones that actually stand the test of time that become classics, they all broke the rules. Yes, right. We have usually typically a new number one every week on the Billboard charts, on country air check. But think how many of those won't end up going down as a classic. Yes, you have a new number one almost every week, but people usually, unfortunately, forget about them by the next month. They go, oh yeah, that song, that was a good song, that was catchy. And that's still great. I mean, by no means don't discredit another number one, but the ones that go down typically as like huge songs that really shifted things and moved mountains and made change were not the ones that fit into this machine 3-minute 10 to 20-second box. They just didn't. And so I was like, if we all collectively as a community said, ditch it,
froze up
let's
again.
Did it freeze?
Yeah, there it goes.
Okay. I said, if we all collectively as a community just ditched this formula, and we all said our mission and our job is to go in and write things that mean something to us, then we would only have great music to share. So why are we even bothering with these songs that are being written so quickly and so fast that kind of are mediocre at best?
Right.
I think we're missing the heartbeat of music, and I want it to come back. And I'm not saying I'm the one here to do it. I'm just saying that it's something that I've noticed, and I feel less attached to music these days than I ever have. And that concerns me. I think people like Luke Combs are doing a really good job. I think someone like Lainey Wilson's doing a really good job. I think even Morgan Wallen's doing a good job. But I think we're just missing that, like, I don't know, that like you turn it on and you go, like it makes you feel something. And I think we just need it. We need it back. Or I'm really scared for the future of music. Really, I am.
You brought up a really good point, talking about, being a new number one next week, and then the next week, you got 50, the charts run about 51 weeks out of the year, 50 to 51, depends. You've got a 52-week year. Usually the last week or the last 2 weeks, they take off for the charts, or I think it's the last week of the prior year and the first week of the following year. So you're talking about 51 number one slots across a year. Just the slots. You'll have some that are multiple number ones,
Sure.
So that may knock 2 or 3 out. Very rarely anymore 4 weeks or anything like that. So do you feel like that is too short of time? And I hope I'm not getting in any trouble by saying this.
No, no. I'm an open book. You don't have to be worried about that with anything with me. Yes, I do. But I also think that what's damaging some of this is things like TikTok and like Instagram Reels. And I think the way our generations are now consuming music and the way they're consuming information is too quickly. It's in like 30-second increments, and then they're bored, and then they're swiping to the next video. There's no patience. why people don't really make records anymore. No one sits down to make a full-length record, because why bother? That's not how people consume music anymore. They want it and then they move on. It's no one has the patience anymore, because we are actually teaching people. We are grooming people to do that. Like, and
Right.
they want to look back and they want to say, how did this happen, or whose fault it is? It's all of our faults. We're all doing it. We're all complicit with it. And my team gets so angry at me because I'm so not on the TikTok train. I get the importance of some of it. I've seen it work for some, but now I think it's slowly trickling not working, because then you're just now another TikTok person, oh, been there, done that. Somebody's already done it. So now it's like, it's just the way I see information being taken in. It's just not enough time. You can't,
Right.
it's so, and now it's all about following a trend. So now it's about, oh, well, that song did well on TikTok, so I'm just going to go sing that song. Well, how is it special now when you have 50,000 people singing the same song? How is that? That's not going to set you apart from anybody else. It's really hard for me to sit back and watch the way information is being fed, and we're all part of it. And so it's hard to even talk about it as if like I'm angry, because I get heated up about it, but I'm part of it too. And I think it's not, I think it's hurting. I don't think it's helping the music industry. And it's funny because they keep telling us that it's helping. I don't think it's helping.
I don't think so either, and I absolutely agree with you. I mean, you look at I don't want to name names. There are two particular artists that have done really well, that were discovered on TikTok, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave it at that. They had songs that raced up the charts. I mean, used to it would take 10 weeks for a song to hit number one, and it might stay there 3 weeks or something like that, and then come back down. Back in the old days, the golden days of yesteryear, it'd take longer than 10 weeks for it to get up
Yep.
to that number one spot. They put one out, and 2.5, 3 months later, it's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it's your very first song, here's the problem. You're a novice at this whole business. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
you may have been in Nashville and you may have done your 10-year time in the 10-year town, but you're still a novice when it comes to what truly happens. But then you have that number one and you set the bar super high already.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know number ones are great. I know they get you on the red carpet. Top 20, a top 20 will get you on the red carpet of every award show you go to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then the next step is performing on the Grand Ole Opry stage and stuff like that. There
Mm-hmm.
again, that used to be reserved for
Yep.
somebody else, and
Yep.
now it's like everybody is pushing, just like you said about
Yep.
attention spans. We're all pushing and shoving people
Mm-hmm.
into what used to be a very
Sacred thing.
sacred, yeah, very sacred and
Mhm.
and very hallowed. I mean, that circle is hallowed ground.
Yep. And
You
they're
know?
these artists, I'm noticing, and it's not technically their fault. They're getting it. They're excited because something's happening, but their lasting power isn't. We're not creating superstars. That's just what I'm saying. We're creating stars that burn bright in the beginning and then die out fast, because all of the success is happening, boom, through it, and then and then there's nothing to back it. So it's like they're all rushing. You're like you said, and that to me is concerning. And there's a huge difference between an artist that sings alone in their bedroom and then becomes viral, and now you're putting them up on every stage possible, and you want them, and maybe they can sell out things because of TikTok and things like that. But where is the ladder that was climbed, in the sense of, did you start out in a dive bar? Did you I don't blame these artists for getting up on a stage in front of 10,000 people and being like, because yesterday I was alone in my bedroom with my guitar, and now it's a lot different talking and singing to yourself in front of your phone versus being put up on a platform in front of 10, 20,000 people. That's it's almost unfair to do to
Yeah.
people. I mean, there is, we talk about it actually in the podcast, how there's no artist development anymore. That job's gone. There is that is a thing of the past. And now you develop yourself, if you even get developed, and it just gets thrown out to the wolves. I don't know. It's concerning. It's concerning.
Do you feel like, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here, kind of. Do you feel like that is a, for lack of a better word, laziness of the labels?
Oh,
Or
100%. I'm okay
okay,
with saying it. It's okay. But I also think that, to be fair to the labels, because as much as I agree with that statement, I also think that budget cuts, I don't think labels are making nearly as much money. So I'm sure they've had to have cutbacks. I'm sure they've had to cut certain, you know, job titles. And I'm sure
mhm,
artist development and A&R was a part of it. And
yeah,
so, to be fair, they have to save money where they can. So they can't put the budget into these new green artists coming in that they're signing. So they're just kind of, I mean, letting them wing it, I guess, and seeing what sticks. And I think that's why I actually compare labels now to the show Shark Tank. I think that I hate when I watch Shark Tank and I see a really good idea, and I'm
mhm,
like, wow, that's genius. And then they go, well, how much money have you made, over the last year? What were your sales last year? And if it's not like already in the millions of dollars, they're like, yeah, we're all going to pass. And I go, what do you mean? This is a $1 billion idea and you're passing on them. Why would you do that? That's how I feel about labels now. They
mhm.
really don't take chances on just good life-changing artists now. Now it's like, how many tickets can you sell? How many streams do you have? How many followers do you have? How much money are you making? It has to
Mhm.
be already proven to them with a bow on it, and all the glittery magic dust is already sprinkled on it before they even consider you. And let's be honest, that's just not realistic. The average person can't push themselves without a budget.
Absolutely. And to me, it goes back to, used to, when they had the A&R departments and the artist development, it used to be, what can we do to help this artist move their career along? And
Yeah.
now it's almost like it's flipped around to where the artists are asked, what can you do to help us move our label along? What do you bring to the table? Well, I've
Uh-huh.
got 1 million followers on TikTok. I've got 5 songs that I've done in my front room that have gone viral, or,
Mhm.
sang while I was, forgive me, sitting on the pot in the bathroom. A friend of
Mhm.
mine who's already an artist did that the other day. And that was popped in my mind. I'm like, and it was a joke, but it
That's
was
funny.
like, if you could get something like that to go viral and you have 1 million followers, then there you go. That's your spiel to get you signed by a record label.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I think, kind of like you said, with a lot of the social media starting to dwindle down, I think that's kind of part of the hurt the record labels are feeling. I mean, they've had to come out with new revenue streams because people don't buy albums anymore.
Yep. Yep.
You have a select few like me that go to the local record store that, thank goodness, we just got opened up in our town. And I'll go spend 25 to $30 a week,
Yeah.
on albums. But people don't do that anymore.
Nope. And I'm actually one of the few people that I know personally that, at least, I don't necessarily go to the store anymore to buy a record, but
Mhm.
I rarely stream on something like Spotify. I'm more, I will go to the Apple iTunes store and I will actually buy the whole album. I'm one of the few people that I know, even in my own age category, that even do that. Nobody does it. Nobody buys everything in its entirety, if buy it at all. They'll just say, no, I spend 10.99 a month on Spotify and I stream it. And I go, huh? Because
Yeah.
I makes me feel like, I'm like, gosh, I'm not that old, but like, I don't, I just have a way more, I guess, a nostalgia way of doing things. I hate the fact that I can't go into a Best Buy or a Target or somewhere and go down the aisle. My dad actually just came home from Christmas shopping and he was at Best Buy, and he
Uh-huh.
said, I went to go find the CD section and there isn't one anymore. And it's so sad because there used to be aisles of it, and you would, I loved picking up the copy, turning it around, reading the titles of the songs. I liked the artwork that was on it. That was a whole photo shoot that someone had to put together, and that was all a part of it. And it's just it's gone.
Yeah. I'm a big vinyl person, so I mean, I will say Walmart has done that. They put in a end cap vinyl section.
Oh, and you know what's funny is like you like it because it's something that you remember and it's something that's really special to you. But the
Right.
reason why it's still there is not because of people like you. It's there because kids on TikTok think it's vintage and cool,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like mind blowing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's kind of like me leaving my suit coats to my two sons when something happens to me, and it's no longer old clothes. It's vintage now,
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And, it's just like, and, there are times when I thought, my gosh, that is the ugliest sport coat. I don't know why I bought that thing, but I guarantee you one of my boys would go, oh my gosh, Dad, that is just so cool. It's
I
so
know.
vintage looking. And I'm like, whatever, son, take it if you want it.
That's so funny. It's true.
So you've got the new EP that just came out in March, I believe it was.
Yeah,
Is
was
that
it
right?
March? So I guess it's almost been a year, huh? We're coming up on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, time has flown so much. So yeah, we're already working on the next one. But yes, we All About Love was the EP
Mhm.
title. And the first single that came off of it was about the song was called About Love, and that was kind
Right.
of where the name of the EP came from, was the fact that I didn't want to name it after a song, and but then I started looking at the track list and what I had put together, and what I really stayed true to with most of my work is that I sing all about love all the time. That's usually the plot line of every single song, whether it's good, bad, ugly, hate, love, good. I mean, all of it. I
Right.
just think that is probably the one topic that everybody can actually relate to, because everybody's been in love, everybody's had their heart broken, everybody's been angry at somebody, everybody's been sad. So
Right.
those songs are timeless when it's about love, and so that's why I named it All About Love.
I think that's neat because when you say that, it's like you you um sorry, I've got an engineer friend and he's messaging me like crazy over here, and he's like, why are you interviewing all the females that need an engineer? And that is odd. I'm going to address that just for a second, Radius, just for you, my friend. Why does it seem like there are more females that are trying to break into the industry than there are males?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't really know. But whenever I get asked the topic about like the male versus female thing, I've had to walk it back a little bit because of something that I saw online. But I really hate this whole like girls are not played enough. Girls are and girls are the ones causing this issue, by the way. They're the one. I mean, and when we get asked this question, I'm just like, hey, I just think it's all about the music. And I think that regardless if you're a guy or a girl in this business, it's hard. It doesn't matter. If you're a guy, it's just as hard. It's still hard. You don't just get handed it
Right.
because you're a guy. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the music. What are people responding to on the radio the most? Well, if they're responding the little I don't know why we're getting mad at programmers. Programmers are playing what their audience wants to listen to, and they have the metrics to know what that is. And if it's not as many girls on the hour, they're just doing their job. And I don't know why we're getting mad at them for it. I just think that, and girls are spending too much time talking about being a girl, about being upset about it. And I go, okay, but I also think girls are part of the problem. Girls hate on other girls. I mean,
Right.
girls in this business are hurting themselves. Guys aren't hating on us. The guys in this business aren't hating on us. The girls are hating on their own gender. And I'm like, you're the reason, right? You're causing your own issues. But I don't know why more girls. I honestly think part of it is the social media thing, though. I see more girls on TikTok and stuff singing in front of their cameras and stuff and doing that. But I don't know why per se.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know why. Mm-mm.
And that was probably more a rhetorical, but I did want to just to kind of fill out what your take on it was. It wasn't totally rhetorical, but but and I've noticed that because a lot of the artists that I interview, especially independents. Now, this may go back to the whole
Mm,
label thing. Independent artists, that's primarily what I deal with. The
yeah.
majority of what I have are girls. I try to mix it up. I try to get guys on, but um, a part of the thing is it's the girls will say, "Sure, I'll be on there," a lot quicker than the guys will, and I got to get a date set. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I
sorry.
actually don't. But you're right, but maybe it's because I am a girl in this business, I know more of the girls than I do the guys in general, but,
Right.
um, yeah, you actually see more guy actually, this is an issue we're having with the podcast, is I actually see more guy songwriters, more girl artists.
Right.
So, I am having the hardest time finding women to be on my podcast. There's like, we actually, I've looked through pages and pages of songwriters in Nashville, like ones with notability of some kind, and
Right.
the list of women is very short, very short. And
Hmm.
we've reached out to almost every single one of them. And this is like going back to even to like songwriter Sarah Buxton, who we haven't heard from in a while, but she came to mind immediately because I love her work. And I thought to myself, this is what's happened. Like, we're reaching out to people who a lot of people haven't heard from in a long time because there just aren't a lot of female notable songwriters, which I find very weird.
Right. I will. I'm not correcting you on something you said. Well, I'm informing you
Feel
because I
feel
work
free.
on the side. You were talking about programmers. You don't know why the
Hmm.
programmers are doing their job. I've worked in radio for 38 years. I've worked in country music for 12 years. Um, in some markets, okay, I will frame
Uh
it
huh.
that way. And for those of you listening that may not know, when I say the word market, I'm talking about in some cities, towns, primarily
Sure.
cities, bigger. In some markets, it is not the programmer's decision.
Mm. Yeah,
And
that
I
is
say
true.
that because there's a fella in Nashville, that works with a place that we're not going to name, AKA a record label, who is doing what he can to get his artist played.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
And I mean, and that's again, I've got a good friend of mine just jumped on. He's a program director of a media-based reporting station up in New York. And Skip, I love you, buddy. I hope I didn't cross any lines
Oh,
with that.
I like Skip. I love Skip.
Yep, yeah. He said, I love Tiffany.
I love
Skip
Skip.
is great. We were just talking the other night, so we're trying to hopefully things will work out to where I'll be in Nashville for CRS and get to hang out with Skip again. Um, but it's just gotten to be where sometimes I always feel like if you go back to Murder on Music Row and what that was all about,
Hmm.
it's the same thing. Only
No, and
nobody's getting physically
I think I
shot.
know I think I know what you're talking about too. We could be thinking of two different people and things, but yes, I have. Yes, there is some situations where it's very hard to get yourself heard on it because you feel like it's being owned by that label. Yeah,
Right.
I totally know what you mean, and it's
Not
frustrating.
particularly one label, it's a lot of the labels, I mean, a couple of the
Hmm.
labels, but yeah, there is one in particular that comes to mind. Skip says, "No, I hear you," so he's right there with me. But it's one of those things where, I mean, we have sat here this whole time and I love talking to you, you're just amazing, you just
Thank you.
you don't hold anything back, you're so easy to talk to, and I don't say that in the show very often, but by golly, you're something else. But I feel like that if again going back to the streaming and the social media and stuff, I'm going to apologize for saying it this way. It's about damn time that Nashville gets out of its own way.
Mhm. Yeah.
That would improve this industry a whole lot for everybody, for the singers, the artists, the songwriters, the A&R departments, the record labels, the publicists,
Everybody.
the bookers,
Everybody.
and the radio stations. Get out of your way and, let's work together and quit, trying to control every other aspect because you feel like that's what you can do. I keep saying one of these days I'm going to go to Nashville. I'm going to walk in to CRS or somewhere, and they're going to have my picture up and say he's banned.
Yeah. I think that I was getting I had some, when I was doing promo earlier on for the podcast, people were asking me are you scared of the backlash? And I said, if you would have asked me that question maybe 5 years ago, maybe I would have said yes.
Mhm.
But now, no. I think that real change and doesn't happen from staying comfortable or without kind of shaking things up a bit or asking some hard questions. And when you hear people are maybe not happy with something or they don't like something, typically that means that you might be on the right path for
Right.
something. And I just think that I just realized we just aren't asking the hard questions anymore. And when it came to the songwriters, I was like, when are they ever asked their opinion? We expect them to create the magic in which we call music that everybody takes a part in, but yet then we don't ever turn the microphone back to them to ask them their opinion of if they even like the way the music industry is, if they even
Right.
like this circus that we're all participating in. Why aren't we asking their opinions? And I realized we're not asking their opinions because I don't think people want their opinions out there, because the more I talk to them, the more they're not happy. And why, we keep running around, and I see it on Instagram too, of everyone goes, we need to support the songwriters. I said,
Right.
but what are you doing to actually do that minus your Instagram post?
Right.
It looks good for 5 minutes, but then what are you doing after that? And I said, it's kind of like any other social problem and that we deal with, in the world. It's kind of like, it's really popular to post it so everybody can see that you support that, but then what are you doing past that?
It's just
And
like
for
you
me,
said earlier, buying that song for 99 cents and you think 99 cents is not a whole lot. Today's age, it's not a whole lot. I mean, it
mm-mm,
doesn't amount to a hill of beans, inflation, all that good stuff. But
yep,
that 99 cents, if you multiply that times 10,000, times 50,000, it makes the artist money, it makes the songwriters
yep,
money.
yep.
Now, when you break it down, the songwriters are getting more than the artist, but there's a reason behind that too,
I
because they are
think
the ones
there's
that are putting more time into it.
Yep. And I think it should be that way. And that's
Yeah.
why I think songwriters are so angry at the Spotify situation and why I really
Mhm.
don't stream a lot of stuff. Is because I know who's really creating that magic. And don't get me wrong, we need people like me and like Carrie Underwood and other artists and Garth Brooks to cut the music. Okay. There needs to be a vehicle for them to get their stuff heard, but it
Right.
all starts with a song and it always
Right.
will. And if we don't start paying respect to the people that started it all, then we don't have anything. We don't have the songs to sing. If they stop doing what they do, we can't do what we do.
Preach it. That's all I can say. You are absolutely 100% right. If songwriters went on strike, artists would be out of business.
Oh my gosh, because half of the artists that say they write, I'm not so sure.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, really, if all the songwriters, the real songwriters, just stopped songwriting,
Right.
woof, I would be terrified to hear what would come out of this.
That brings back a story that I'm going to share with you real quick because you talk about there may be people that don't write. I was talking to a band. It was three brothers, and I don't even care to tell you who they are. They're called the Flat River Band. They're from Missouri, and I was talking to them, was interviewing those guys, and we were talking about songwriting. And I asked them who did the bulk of the songwriting, and one of the brothers did, and then the other one would kind of come in, and they said, yeah, and I don't remember the brothers' names. Fellas, if you're watching, forgive me. I think it was Denny Joe that did most of the writing, and then the other two I can't remember. But they said, yeah, he generally tosses in an and every now and then. So, his whole philosophy is, hey, it's a third for a word. And I'm like,
Yeah. And now he's got points.
it is, that's like some of these artists will sit in the room and they'll go, what if we changed love you to my love? That's the only input they have in the song, and they get a writing credit.
Which is, I strongly have a problem with. So, and you know what I found so far on the show, we got a 50-50 feel on it. I think they all disagree with it, but some of them say, yeah, but I'm okay with it because it means my songs are getting cut. And you know what? Sometimes I just got to take the good with the bad and I got to roll with it. And I looked at him and I said, doesn't that suck though? Like I get it. You're just going with the times. But when is somebody going to put their foot down and say, no more. We're done. No. Right. And it's like, and if we all just keep doing this, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. So I'm here to scream from the rooftop, to be somebody to say, I don't want it. And I'm really trying to do my best to fight for the voices of the songwriters that aren't right. I mean, we're muzzling them, and it seems intentional in my opinion. And that's why I was like, let's rip that off and let's hand them the microphone, because they have a lot to say and they deserve to say it. It's their stories we're singing.
Right. And the thing I love about that is the fact that you yourself are an artist. You've admitted publicly tonight, I'm just getting into songwriting. The songs I've recorded in the past, I did not write. All I did was perform them. I got my 0.0003 cents out of that song for singing it, or whatever the breakdown is now, for streams and all that other stuff. But as an artist, I have to, as a singer and an artist and not a songwriter until now, I have to admire you for that, because you're in the same boat that these people are in, and they're going, well, I was in the same room. So, and like I said, I put my word for a third in there. And so I should get songwriting credit. Hey, if that's the case, I should be a rich man right now, because I'm giving a lot of artists a lot of ideas about songs to write. Now, whether or not they've written them, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can come up with a title all day long. If I give you a title, that's a writing credit on my part. That's the way.
Right. That is now. And, and part of me, blames a lot of the artists, but then parts of me feel really bad because I don't know, technically, I'm very, very lucky to be on a team of people that support my authenticity. So 100%. But I've seen artists get pushed into these rooms and without really not wanting to be. Right. And they're told, this is what you're going to do because this is how we're going to get the material. And this is how you're going to make it. And this is what, and they feel like when you're told, it's very hard as an artist because all you want to do is make it, right? I mean, so it's like, you're going to be told, if you're told this is what you got to do, I don't blame sometimes the younger artists that come into town not really knowing a whole lot and just feel like, well, I guess this is what I have to do. And they just kind of, they get in line and they do what they're told. And my opinion, but I think it's the wrong way of it. But at the end of the day, that's just my opinion. Some people say, hey, it's a business. This is business. And that's true too. I just don't like it.
Right. And I'm the same way. I mean, and I don't even have a dog in the hunt, as my granddad used to say. I'm not an artist. I'm not a songwriter, but coming from the radio side of things, I mean, it's like I get so frustrated about the man And I don't know how else to put it. I see it in so many different ways. Like you said, these artists getting pushed into a songwriting room that don't really want to be there, but because
Mhm.
their label says, yeah, you need to get some kind of credit on this song. Well,
Yep.
I'm singing it, it's being sold, it's going out to people. I'm doing it on stage over 150 city tour. Is that not enough?
Yeah, it's because labels know that most people are streaming their music and not buying it on Apple, so
Yes.
the artist makes all the money on the streaming services, so if they're the writer on it, then they get everything, right? And it
Right.
leaves zilch for the songwriter, and, again, I'm gonna go back to the fact that if we keep doing this to the songwriter and they stop doing what they do, good luck, because 'cause we'll have nothing left. So
Right.
we gotta start treating our own better.
Right. We're gonna, and I mean, you've worked with a lot of good artists, and I'm gonna play your new single here in just a minute. This has just been one of those conversations that I could go all night. I mean, your newest single, you look at it, you've got Jason Saines, you got Sarah Hayes on there, you got John McLaughlin. Again, you've worked with Jeffrey Steele, you've worked with Busby, you've worked with Tammy Kid Hutton, who wrote the one song that started it all for you, that you
Mhm.
actually redid by LeAnn Rimes, and you didn't even know that she wrote that song, and she was a good friend of
No.
yours
Yeah.
until you told her about it.
Which is
And,
so crazy, such a God thing.
yeah, and I think that is so cool that it kinda goes, I mean, it kinda goes back to what we were saying earlier about not realizing the writers. You know who sings it, but you don't realize the writers, and then you get to be friends with the writers, and I'm not slamming you, I'm not saying that at all.
No. No.
But that's kind of that hidden behind the veil, like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain thing
Totally.
that most people don't see because it's not put out there enough, you know,
Yep, it's not.
until CMA times or ACM or whatever music awards coming up that wins song of the year, that kind of thing, where the
Right,
writers actually get recognized for that.
right.
Um, and so, or single of the year, I guess they get recognized for. Song of the year goes to producers, I think it is. But regardless, that's it's not until then that they get any kind of public recognition,
Mhm.
national recognition, and then it's
Right,
one
I
night,
mean,
10
yeah, they
o'clock
get a
and
lot of I
forgotten.
mean, they get a lot of industry recognition within the town,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, our job is nothing without the public, right? Without
Right,
national, world, wide acknowledgement. And
right,
you know what? To be fair, a lot of writers don't want that kind of fame, and I get it, but it doesn't mean we can't still give them credit. Or
right,
I just think less omission and more just putting it out there. I think is
right,
would be better.
right. And I 100% agree with you. I think that is, you had put that in such a wonderful light for a lot of people, and I hope that the people that have been watching and all tonight have really taken to heart everything that's been said. I want to apologize to those that are listening and watching, because my intent, quite honestly, I kind of direct the podcast, and you understand, Tiffany, exactly what I'm talking about. I kind of direct the podcast, and I took this in a whole different route, but that's what I do sometimes.
Yeah,
The
that's
whole
okay.
premise
And
of the
I'm
podcast is to
glad.
learn about. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just glad. I would rather spend this time talking about something that I think is really important than sometimes about just myself. I think that there's more. I think there is a huge, bigger platform that sometimes it needs to be spoken about than other than just about me. So I'm good with it.
well, and I'm not gonna 100% agree with that, because part of my thing is I want people to know you. I want them to know Tiffany. But one of the things that they know about Tiffany now, Tiffany's pretty damn passionate about what she believes in.
That is
And if that's
very
the
true.
only thing that they walked away from this with, you know what else it's gonna do? Hopefully it's going to drive them to jump over to iTunes and buy that song that you just did. Or when the new album's released next year, they're going to go over and they're going to spend 9.99 and buy the whole album, whatever they cost now.
Yeah.
Um, they fluctuate. But all because they know that you're passionate about what you do. And so that is, if you're that passionate about things that have nothing, well, I don't want to say nothing to do. If you're that passionate about things that are not your music, it's still related to your music, then just imagine how passionate she is about her music and how great it's going to sound. That's my take on it. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not biased in any way. I did not get paid by anybody to say that. But to me, that's just the way I feel about it. And Tiffany's got a great song that it's called it's I Don't Want You Back by Jason Sane, Sarah Hayes, and John McLaughlin. Three very good writers in Nashville. Um,
Very.
if and we're going to play that. I know we're normally it's halfway through the show I'm playing the song, but just talking to you has been phenomenal for me.
Thank you. I've had a
I
ton of
really-
fun.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the song, and then we're going to talk a little bit more. We may go a little bit over an hour if you've got time. I don't care. At the rate the snow's going right now, I ain't got nothing to do tomorrow. I don't have to be at work. I hope my boss is listening. So here's Tiffany's single. It's called I Don't Want You Back.
I don't want to hear your name, and I don't want to see your face. Don't wanna know how you're doing from a friend of a friend, or get a drunk dial at 2 a.m. saying I miss you. I don't wanna wonder about a girl, if she makes you dance and if she twirls around. I don't really care if you're smoking again, and I don't wanna run into you and pretend that I don't want you back so bad. Breaking in my heart, slipping through the cracks. No, don't call me tonight, 'cause I'm trying to forget all the reasons I love you. I don't want you back. I don't want you back. I don't want you back. I don't want to lie till the very last minute of my birthday, hoping you're alone and you're thinking of me, staring at your phone and you're thinking the same thing, that I don't want you back. Breaking in my heart, slipping through the cracks. No, don't call me tonight, 'cause I'm trying to forget all the reasons I love you. I don't want you back. I don't want you back. I don't want you back. Sometimes I want 2 a.m. so I can hear your voice again, that I don't want you back so bad. Breaking in my heart, slipping through the cracks. No, don't call me tonight, 'cause I'm trying to forget all the reasons I love you. I don't want you back. 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 I don't want you back.
All right, that's Tiffany Woys, and I Don't Want You Back on b4Nashville. It's so hard. Skip, you understand this if you're still on with me, buddy. as I was starting to say that, I'm trying to keep my radio station out of my mind when I do this, and I just almost did not succeed. I started to spout out the radio station real quick, and I'm like, oh no, that's not it. That's not it. When we talked earlier, you said we said that you have a lot of you have your hand in a lot of things when it comes to what you're working with. The video for that song you've done, and you did some co-directing of the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
And
my first time co-directing, but I always play a large role in what it will look like. And
right,
this was my first time where I really wanted to be even more hands-on with it, but I'm very I come up with the concept pretty much immediately in my head, and I'm dear friends with my director who has literally done every single music video for me thus far. And we just kind of keep pushing it even more every time. And he's just he kind of just reads my mind now at this point. Like, we are that close that it's just kind of, he's even the one that records my podcast for me. So we
okay.
just get each other so well that I can call him with like any concept and he goes, yep, on it. Like, we're now like, we get it.
And it's like I said earlier, you're kind of like the Tom Cruise of independent country artists, because you're like your hands in everything, and I hope I don't mean any. I
No,
hope you're.
hey, I like Tom Cruise.
But I mean, you just amaze me with just your overall knowledge and your voice, as far as speaking out for those that, the writers, and what you believe in, and like I said, even though the podcast, the core of it is to introduce the artist, I feel like tonight we've been able to introduce the artist and the person, and also the passion of that person to the people that have been watching tonight. And I think that's so amazing. To me, that makes for the perfect podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's kind of even what country music is, though. I don't think it's just about the music. I think it's about the person too. And I've always said that country music is really special in the way that it's a relationship. I think it's more of a human interaction genre than any other genre. And
Right.
it's the whole thing. I mean, I want to get to know the person too. I think that's just as equally as important as the music. And it's such a relationship, person to person genre where we feel really connected and we feel like we really know the person. And I don't want people to just feel like they know me. I want them to know me.
Right. And that's what I love about, going back to the whole social media thing. That's one way to get to know Tiffany. You can follow on her social media, because she's active on there. Also go over to her website, which is just tiffanywoys.com. You can go over there and check it out as well. There's going to be a time where I'm going to reach back out, and hopefully I can have you back on,
Of
because,
course.
and it's not that I try to rail on Nashville, but sometimes there are just things that tonight's been one of those nights where we've kind of both seen and have the same views and the same um, passion for those that are busting their tails. I mean, there's independent artists out there. I mean, I've got friends that have had record contracts, and then they've lost that contract for stupid reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just stupid. But then you have, well, I'm not going to go down that road, but tides get turned in some instances,
Yeah.
and it just seems to be a whole different world when that happens.
Yeah.
So
Totally agree.
I'll leave you all to your imagination on that one. You can say I'm talking about whoever, whatever. I don't care. And you're probably right, just so you know. So anyway, Tiffany, I know I know you're in California, so I know it's what 8 o'clock out there right now. 7 o'clock out there right now.
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and like I said, if I had another hour or so, which I hope to in the near future,
we'll do it again.
Before I go, Skip, I'm plugging you, buddy. As always, I'm plugging you.
I know. I use his mug all the time.
It is my number one mug. I'll be honest with you. It is my number one. You can ask my wife. If that one's dirty, I don't do dishes, and my wife will tell you that I don't like to do dishes. I will hand wash this mug so I can drink it.
That's funny.
So Skip's great. I love him to death. He's a great fella. But check Tiffany out. Again, her website is tiffanywoys.com, and that is WOYS. It's just like right there under her picture. And also on her, I'm still going to say this, even though we've had this discussion. You can check her out on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. She's still on there. And then go check out her social media, follow her on social media and all that stuff. And Skip, Merry Christmas, my friend. Skip just said Merry Christmas to everybody.
Oh, Merry Christmas, Skip.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Skip. We love you, man. And Tiffany, Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Have a happy new year.
Thank you.
We will hopefully get a chance to talk to you sometime in the new year.
I would love that. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great night. Merry Christmas to everybody. And we will see you. Going to take next week off. Actually, no, I'm not. This week was going to be my week off, but I scheduled stuff anyway, and I was going to stick to it. So I've got more coming up next week. So we'll see you guys back here on Monday night. All right.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow b4Nashville on all social media and listen wherever you get your podcast. Tune in again for another country star of tomorrow on b4Nashville with George Davis. I'm Kevin Casey on behalf of Worldwide Pants. Have a great night.